Hello, I'm welcome to Fox Sports Lab AFL Round 3. Chief still got me by 2. Can you believe it? We had the same. We can't be so vanilla this week, Chief.
I think there'll be a couple of upsets in the tips this week to go. It's an interesting round of matches, isn't it?
It is. And we're going to start with the grand final rematch. Brisbane hosting Collingwood.
Oh, wow. Who would have dreamt that we would be in this position, neither team with a win on the board? How desperate.
I don't think I've ever heard of it, to be fair. But I just want to point out a little stat because I love my stats. Now, Brisbane have conceded, get this, 8-goal streaks in both their games this year. That has, it didn't occur in 2023 for the Lions at all. So leaking goals at will. So I'm actually going to kick this off. I'm going for Collingwood to put their first win on the board because we know how Brisbane are hard to beat at home, but Carlton showed how they can do it in the opening round.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, I hope you're not hanging your hat on that stat because you could find a heap of numbers that don't reflect well on Collingwood at the moment either, let me tell you. Their midfield is misfiring. Defence is leaking like a sieve. Don't know how they fix that up very, very quickly. And the forward line looks a little bit impotent at the moment. So I'm tipping Brisbane to get their first win of the season at home. But either way, it's going to be a very desperate clash.
Yeah, there we have plenty of sore players after this one. Desperate as at the Gabba. Now, Freo, they were your bottom 4 team this year. They're flying. They're 2-0. They take on Adelaide. And I think the difference between Freo, especially when we look at last week's game from half-time against North Melbourne, albeit, but 27 hardball gets in the positive and ground balls 24. So they're rolling the sleeves up. They're doing what they didn't do last year, and it's getting the job done. So I'm tipping them. I'm tipping Adelaide. No, I'm not. I'm tipping Freo. I get my tips mixed up here.
Get off the fence. Who are you
tipping? Off the fence. No, I'm going with Freo to knock off Adelaide in Perth, but I'm intrigued to see if we're sitting on the same side this time.
No, this is my upset of the round. I'm going for Adelaide. They haven't had a win yet either, so they are pretty much backs against the wall. Look, Caleb Sarong's fantastic at 35 last week. Luke Jackson grabbed everything that came his way, kicked a couple of goals. They're going to have to stop those two having a massive impact. But I think Adelaide are a bottle waiting to be uncorked. And when they go off, they might go off big time.
So I know you had Freo bottom 4, so you're still not a believer, obviously, tipping Adelaide in Perth.
Well, I'm kind of backing my tip pre-season, aren't I? I've got to stay bullish. I also had Adelaide in my 8 because I thought they were going to improve this year. So one last chance for the Crows.
All right, now Port Adelaide are hosting Melbourne. This is going to be a beauty. Melbourne back to their best in this one. I'm going with Melbourne in this, but the only concern for me with Port Adelaide, conceding obviously in their defensive 50, conceding 51% of opposition entries this season in terms of scores. So the AFL average is 43. So happy for it to come in, but teams are scoring. So Melbourne have been so dangerous early in this year so far.
Oh, I reckon you're going. I don't think Melbourne are going that good. They only beat Hawthorn last week and it was a pretty scrappy match. I'll take Port Adelaide at home. Todd Marshall getting amongst the goals. You get Jeremy Finlayson and also the big man Charlie Dixon is looking pretty good. And the Connor Rosey show is just about the best in the business at the moment. Those 2 young men are absolutely flying. Port Adelaide for me.
All right, well, interested with the next one. So Easter Monday, Hawks don't have any players and the Cats don't have Dangerfield. So last week against Adelaide, they smashed them in the middle, scored 30 points, which they haven't done since the granny in 2022. I think obviously the Cats get it done here and get it done well. Anything to say for your Hawks?
It's a tough one for Hawthorn, isn't it? No danger, no worries for the Cats. I will say this, every now and then, the Hawks, even when they're down the bottom, they can find a performance against the Cats. These games tend to be good ones more often than not. So hopefully they'll be able to find their best form. Just a few issues with ball movement last week. But if they can get some ball in there, maybe try and keep the ball away from Tom Stewart. I mean, if you let him have all those intercept marks and intercept possessions, what will Hawthorn do? Because we saw last week they tried a few things. None of them worked. So we'll wait and see what Hawthorn can do to try and stem the impact of Tom Stewart.
And speaking of Toms, Tom Hawkins, 350 games. You played 269, I think it was, and you were limping to the line.
Yeah.
He's 350 Like, that's just freakish, isn't it?
It's testament to his professionalism, how he prepares himself, and he obviously has a very durable body. I mean, a big man like that to get to 350 is a fantastic effort, and might be a good day for the Cats. You get a nice sunny day, Easter Monday, maybe you get amongst the goals. I haven't even checked the weather. I'm just assuming it's going to be sunny, which is risky in Melbourne, but he might get amongst them, Diggo.
He will, and we might give the fans a little insight into how you retired. Remember that game you were playing in Fraser Garrick? You pushed off him and led, and he ran past you, marked the ball, and you said, "Yeah, I'm done."
That wasn't the game I retired, Diggo. That was the game I knew I needed to retire. There's a difference.
There is a difference. All right, let's do a quick whip of the games in round 3. So North Carlton.
Carlton for me, pretty comfortable, you would think.
Carlton for me. Essendon St Kilda.
Well, Essendon have got some real problems now, haven't they? And no Peter Wright up forward. You've got to think the Saints will continue on their winning way.
Yep, Saints for me. Western Bulldogs, West Coast.
Bulldogs. We should say Max King is not there either for the Saints. So maybe that cancels out with Peter Wright, but still the Saints. What was the next one, sorry?
Yeah, Richmond and Sydney.
Richmond, Sydney. How do you tip the Tigers at the moment? Going like bustards. And Sydney are flying. Absolutely flying. Goulden and Warner just chalking up possessions on ball, so I'll take the Swans.
All right, well, I'm going Sydney in that one, so I think we're pretty similar in terms of the tips outside our big 4 games. The big call, this is where we open the shoulders up, Chief. I'm going to open the bowling, you get the new ball. So I'm tipping Jezza and Tom Hawkins to combine for 10-plus goals. Odds are around 60-1 in the market better have got, but I'm calling out to the better traders. That is unders. That is massive unders. Give me something. Wow. You've got to juice this up a little bit more.
You think they're going to load up against the Hawks?
I was going to actually go 12, and that might have been a bit much, but 10-plus goals combined.
Wow, that's big. Well,
it's 350th.
I'm going to back my upset with a margin because I think Adelaide will get hold of Freo, and I think they'll turn it on, and I think it's a 25-point plus margin. They're not just going to fall over the line. I think they'll win comfortably against the Dockers over at Optus Stadium.
Okay, I like it. 2 big calls that are totally different. All right, Chief. Appreciate your time here reviewing round 3 and what's going to transpire across the weekend. Happy calling on Fox.
Catch you next week.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.